We begin with the day 3 of the hands-on training workshop for biopharmaceutical development. The first speaker for the day is Dr. Sinjan Chaudhary. Dr. Sinjan Chaudhary is currently working as assistant professor in the Department of Chemistry, UMDAE Center for Excellence in Basic Sciences, Mumbai. She obtained her PhD in biothermodynamics and biophysical chemistry from IIT Bombay. She conducted fundamental work in biophysical characterization of protein solvent and drug protein interactions and protein folding intermediates using combination of spectroscopy and calorimetry during her PhD. Subsequently, she joined UMDAE Center for Excellence in Basic Sciences, Mumbai, for her postdoc studies from 2013 to 2015. As a postdoc fellow, she was involved in structural characterization of ribosomal proteins from different parasites using different biophysical techniques. She has started independent research on inhibition of protein fibrillation by small molecules, supported by DST SERB Early Career Research Award. Her research work has been published in various reputed international journals. She has also been inducted as editorial board member of Journal of Chemical Thermodynamics. She is recipient of various awards such as Professor Shantilal Oswal Young Scientist Award and GIAC Memorial Award in recognition of the work in thermodynamics and bioenergetics. Dr. Chaudhary's current research work is involved in unraveling the mechanism of inhibition of protein fibrillation and aims to exploit natural plant product based therapeutics for the prevention of Parkinson's disease. She has obtained SERB funding both at earlier career level and as core research grant. I request Dr. Sinjit to begin her talk.
A very good morning to all. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. So today I will be talking about understanding the protein structure, stability and biomolecular interactions, mostly by using biochemistry. So if we want to understand the biologically important processes, so there are two main ways or two main events which we need to consider. First is biomolecular interactions, and second is at the same time their stability. In the cell, inside the cell, biomolecules they are in crowded environment, so they have to maintain their stability as well as they have to interact with their partners. That could be similar kind of molecules or there could be different types of ligands. So, in case of biologically important processes, whatever interactions are taking place, so those are mediated by non-covalent interaction. Non-covalent interaction, that means they will be very, very weak interactions. So there are different types of non-covalent interactions like hydrogen bonding, electrostatic interactions, hydrophobic interactions. So these kind of interactions are involved when two biomolecules interact. Suppose two protein molecules they are interacting, or DNA protein they are interacting, or some ligand is binding with protein. And inside the cell also, there are different types of interactions like protein solvent interaction. Proteins are present inside the solvent medium, so they have to interact with the solvent. Then they have to interact with some different kind of ligand. They are they are surrounded by aqueous medium, so protein hydration also plays important role. So all those things are very, very important. So if we want to study those processes, so what would be the method? So here I am telling about calorimetry. So why calorimetry? There are other methods also like the spectroscopy. So why do we need calorimetry? So if you want to study any process, the first question is whether this process happens or not. Yes, and answer you will get is yes or no. It happens or it doesn't happen. But if it happens, then how much and how much? That question will be also there. If it happens, then how much? How much means there could be some numbers. In terms of parameters, in this case it will be thermodynamic parameters which will tell you why it happens, how it happens, and how much, like some enthalpy value calorimeter, second is isothermal dilation calorimeter. Yeah, so if you want to study protein folding, unfolding, or nucleic acid melting, so this differential ischemic calorimeter DSC very important is the main instrument. And if you want to study this interaction kind of thing, biomolecular interaction or ligand macromolecule interaction, macromolecule interaction, then isothermal titration calorimeter is the main instrument. So here the aim is to demonstrate the versatility of and power of microcalorimetry in elucidating biologically important processes. Here this is microcalorimetry. I am using the word microcalorimetry. Microcalorimetry is same as calorimetry. Okay? Calorimeter, but in case of biologically important processes, as I mentioned, they are mediated by weak interactions. So that means the amount of heat liberated or absorbed that will be very, very less. So your instrument should be sufficient enough and sensitive enough to detect that much less amount of heat change. Okay? So this nowadays we have this modern calorimetric techniques, instruments, so they can detect microjoules of heat change. So that's why I am using this microcalorimetry. So what I will do, I will discuss some basics, instrumentation, and how these instruments work for both DSC and IDC. Then I will move towards application. So starting with DSC. So DSC is the most sensitive technique for using stability of your biomolecule. This is mainly used for studying stability. And this is a very, very important technique. It will provide you very fast measurement of transition temperature, and transition temperature will tell you about its stability. It will also give you other thermodynamic parameters, but this is the first thing which people want to measure. And these are certain applications like in protein stability, folding, liquid biopharmaceutical formulations, process development, antibody characterization. There are many more. So this is about the instrument. Very small instrument. It has two cells. One is reference cell, another one is sample cell. Inside the sample cell, you will fill your macromolecule, let us say protein. Okay? So inside the sample cell, you will fill protein, and reference cell will contain same solvent in which you have prepared this protein. So generally we use buffers. Okay? So this will contain same buffer in which you have prepared your protein. Now what you have to do, and both cells are suspended in one jacket which is adiabatic jacket. That means there won't be any heat exchange between system and surrounding. So everything is here. Whatever heat change will be there, everything will be here, and you want to measure that heat change. Now what happens? You are supplying heat. Okay? So here you will have to do temperature scan. That means you will start heating. Suppose you have fixed 25 degrees centigrade and you want to heat up to 100 degrees centigrade. So it will heat. That heating rate you can fix 1 Kelvin per second, 1 Kelvin per minute, or 2 Kelvin, whatever you want. So it will start heating. So it will start heating. Because of it, what will happen? Your protein will unfold. Okay? It will unfold. So, and you might be knowing unfolding is endothermic process. It needs heat. So what will happen? Temperature inside the sample cell, it will fall. It will fall behind compared to the reference cell. So there are sensors present here, which will measure this temperature difference. And the basic principle is here. There should not be any temperature difference. So what your electrical circuits they will do? They will supply some extra power, extra heat inside the sample cell to maintain delta temperature 0. And that extra power, whatever is getting supplied, that will correspond to heat of melting, heat of unfolding. So that is the basic principle, very simple principle. And this kind of graph you will get CP, heat capacity versus temperature. Now heat capacity, how it generated this heat capacity? Everything in the form of electrical signal. That means power. Okay. So from power you have defined scan rate. So it will divide power by scan rate, joules per second, Kelvin per second. Finally you will get joules per Kelvin, which is unit of heat capacity. So in this manner it converts the things. So whatever I have told, just I am showing you this one. Your native protein, finally unfolded protein. Now what you have done, inside the reference cell, buffer, sample cell, you have these protein molecules molecules, folded protein molecules. You have started heating initially 100% folded protein. Now started 10% unfolded protein, 20%, 30%. You see heat capacity is increasing. 30%, 40%, finally 50%. Okay. Now 50%. The peak will be highest. This will be Cp will be highest. So this will correspond to your melting temperature. Then 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%. Finally everything is unfolded, and it will again come back to its baseline. So what all parameters you will get after the experiment? You will have melting temperature, then enthalpy, area under the curve will give you enthalpy, then heat capacity. So transition temperature. Transition temperature is the temperature where your protein will be half folded, half unfolded. So 50% fatty, 50% unfolded, and it is indicative of your stability. And at melting temperature, delta G and unfolding will also be 0, and heat capacity will be maximum. This melting temperature, it is the most it is the parameter to show thermal stability. Like I have shown one example. Suppose you have any native protein, you have made mutation. Okay, you have mutated protein. Now you want to check whether my mutated protein is more stable, or if you have value less than 1 and greater than 1000. That means this kind of situation, then you will not get all the binding parameters, all the thermodynamic parameters. So we should choose our macromolecule concentration in such a way that C value should be between 10 to 100. Like here, if you are having high C value, that means greater than 1000. So this will be situation, unbound, suddenly everything will be bound. So this middle point, all the points are lost. So it's very difficult to fit that data. So you will not get good parameters. If the C value is low, that means this is only half parameter, half the profile. This is also not good. In case of C value 10 to 100, this kind of profile you will get all the points you can fit. You will have stoichiometry, then Kd or Ka, and enthalpy of binding. So this is the effect of C value. For same protein, same ligand, if you have C value between 10 to 100, that here it's 40. So this is for C value 40 and this is for C value 5. So you can see this profile is incomplete. If you want to characterize your process completely, definitely one experiment will not do everything. You have to do many experiments by taking different pH, different solvent condition, different buffer to fully characterize one binding event. Now, in case of ITC, choice of buffer is very, very important. Why? Because inside the body also, whatever true interactions are taking place, in that case, H plus will be liberated or it will be associated. So if your buffer enthalpy itself is too high, means ionization of buffer is too high, that will mask the actual interaction enthalpy. So you should choose that kind of buffer where enthalpy of ionization is less. Like you can choose phosphate buffer, acetate buffer, citrate buffer, glycine acetyl buffer, but you should not choose tris buffer. Generally, biology what we do, this is the most favorite buffer. But for calorimetry, especially for ITC, don't choose this buffer. Now some of the applications of ITC and DSC. So here I am going to talk about binding of some drugs and polyphenols also with serum albumin using calorimetry. Serum albumin is a protein present in blood, and it is very popular protein for carrying different kinds of molecules. It can bind with drugs, polyphenols, some other kind of ligands, and it will be carried to the target cells. So these are the different types of drugs which can bind with this serum albumin. Serum albumin has two major binding sites: warfarin binding site, diazepam binding site, located in subdomain 2A and 3A. So first I will discuss about binding of some polyphenols with serum albumin. So here I have taken two polyphenols, epicatechin and epigallocatechin. These polyphenols are present inside in green tea. Whatever antioxidant properties are there, so these polyphenols are responsible for that. It has many medicinal properties also. So we have studied binding of these drugs with serum albumin. So this is for epicatechin, isothermal titration calorimetric profile for epicatechin and EC in short, and this is for epigallocatechin gallate EGCG. This kind of profile we got. We did experiment at different temperature because we want to characterize out this binding event. So experiment was done from 15 to 37 degrees centigrade. These are the corresponding parameters: N value, K, association constant, enthalpy of binding, entropy, and delta G we calculated, but with the new software instrument will give you the value of delta G. You need not to calculate manually. This is for HSA EC binding. This is for HSA EGCG binding. What we found that N value in this case 1.7, here near about 2. EGCG is binding more strongly compared to EC. Binding constant you can compare 10 to the power 5. Here it is 10 to the power 4. Binding is supported by both enthalpy and entropy. Enthalpy is negative, entropy is positive. So both are contributing towards delta G negative, making delta G negative. So here the value of delta G. We also performed some fluorescence experiment to calculate, again from fluorescence or experiment also using Stern-Bolmer equation. You can calculate association constant, and by temperature dependent experiment you can calculate delta G also. So we calculated delta G and compared with ITC result. So there is slight variation between this delta G and what we calculated from this ITC. There could be some variation because this is indirect method. You are only observing the local environment of fluorophore, which is tryptophan here. And in case of ITC, that instrument is directly measure heat of interaction. So that is more reliable. We've also performed DSC experiment to see whether our ligand is stabilizing protein or not. So what we found in case of HSA and EC, it is not affecting much the melting temperature. All you can say overlap. But in case of EGCG, as we increase the ratio, EGCG ratio from 1:1 to 1:20, the melting shifted towards right side. From here, it has shifted here. That means overall 12 degree stabilization is provided by EGCG binding. So these are the melting temperature and associated enthalpy and heat capacity. By using ITC, you can also know whether these two polyphenols they are binding at same site or not. How? What you can do, you make complex of one polyphenol with the protein, then calculate another one. If both are sharing the same binding site, then whatever you have calculated that will not be able to bind. If they are sharing same binding site. If they are binding at two different places, then it will not affect, that will go and bind. So what we did, we made complex of HSA and EGCG, then we calculated EC. What we found, it has bound. We did reverse also, that means HSA and making complex of HSA and EC, then we calculated EGCG. Here also it bound. That means both are binding at two different sites. And these are the binding constants. Okay, this is some different example. We also studied some binding of some antibiotics like tetracycline, broylic tetracycline with serum albumin. So this is the RTC profile for tetracycline. This is for broylic tetracycline. So this kind of profile we got. The data were best fitted to sequential binding site model. What is sequential binding? That means here the data was fitted to two sequential site binding model. That means one set of drug is going and binding, and that binding facilitates binding of second event. Okay, so that is sequential binding. One by one they are binding. So the data was fitted to two sequential site binding model. So that means there will be two binding constant, two enthalpy, two entropy, everything. So these are the value K1 and K2, delta H1, delta H2, delta S1 and delta S2 for both sides. So here also we found that tetracycline it is binding more strongly compared to this broylic tetracycline. Enthalpy negative, entropy positive. So that means the binding event is supported by both enthalpy and entropy. hydrogen bonding, hydrophobic interactions, and ionic interaction or electrostatic interaction. So what you can do, you do your experiment, binding experiment in presence of different additives. Which kind of additives you can take? You can choose, suppose you have chosen sucrose. Sucrose is having many OH groups, hydroxyl groups. What it will do? It will interfere in the hydrogen bonding process. If you do experiment in presence of TBAB, tetrabutyl ammonium bromide, it has bulky butyl groups, so it will interfere in the hydrophobic interactions. And if you do experiment in presence of NaCl, it will interfere in ionic interactions. So what we did binding experiment in presence of increasing concentrations of these solutes. And we observed what happens to binding constant now. If your binding constant decreases with increasing concentration of solute, that means these kind of interactions are involved in the binding process. So what we found here in case of tetracycline or tetracycline, with increase in concentration of sucrose, NaCl and TBAB, in all cases, if you increase the concentration, the binding constant decreases. In some cases, the binding is completely gone. So we concluded that all these three kinds of interactions are involved in the binding process. So you can know about the mechanism of binding also. We also performed DEC experiment. So what we found, so this is your protein, serum albumin. Drug has bound. So drug has bound at one place, in one binding site. What it causes now, binding of drug, it has stabilized, preferentially stabilized this domain. And this is not bound. So what happened now? This is melting at higher temperature and this is melting at lower temperature. So that means two melting events has happened. So we got this kind of broad thing. Okay? Now you can see solder here. So when this melting profile was deconvoluted, it was fitted to two peaks. Okay? So this will correspond to bound, which is stabilized. So melting temperature has shifted toward right side, and this is unbound. So these kind of things also you can get. Here means these melting temperatures are not far apart, very far apart. So that's why this broad peak we got. If this melting, suppose this stabilization is too much, then you can get two separate peaks. Like in case of antibodies, if you do not, so you will get two separate peaks. Here also what we did, binding in presence of each other to know whether they are sharing same binding sites or not. So what we found here, this when we made the complex of serum albumin and tetracycline and titrated with tetracycline, it was not able to bind. But when we did reverse, that means making complex of serum albumin and raw tetracycline, the tetracycline was able to bind but with less affinity. So what we can conclude here, both drugs are sharing same binding site because raleigh tetracycline is not able to bind here. Tetracycline bind. Yeah, it is able to bind, but the thing is that tetracycline binds more strongly with protein compared to raleigh tetracycline. So that's why it is able to displace raleigh tetracycline and it is able to bind here. But affinity has reduced. If your drug doesn't bind with protein, whatever concentration you choose, you will not get any binding profile. So this is for methimazole, different kind of drug. It doesn't bind, it doesn't interact with serum albumin. So we tried different concentration, no binding profile we observed. Okay, so whatever I have taught, so those drugs get soluble in water. But in some cases, drug has poor solubility or insoluble. Like in case for interaction of drug with micelle only. Okay? Because your micelle should get incorporated or it should get partition inside the your drug should get partition inside the micelle. So this is called partitioning. So we did experiment with 4 different types of drug: naproxen, diclofenac sodium, neomycin and lincomycin. And we wanted to check whether there is some partitioning if these drugs are getting inside the micelle or not. So we found that this naproxen, diclofenac sodium, they are getting partition, but lincomycin is not interacting with micelles. And these are the corresponding parameters. These are the thermodynamic signatures which we got from this table. Delta
I
T.
have a question here. Sorry to interrupt. What will be the reference in your this study? Like reference sample you tell it because it's having it will impact your microenvironment. Reference sample you will keep and one will be your sample.
Okay, while performing experiment.
What will be the reference in this case? Because your micelle concentration will change.
Please complete it.
Your micelle you are dissolving in some other solvent. You have to put a molecule.
In same solvent.
You have to use the same solvent.
Yeah. Every time you have to choose same solvent. There should not be any mismatch between sample and reference.
Okay.
Same solvent you have to use.
Because generally many drugs which are not soluble, like as you mentioned, those are not water soluble.
Correct.
And protein you have to solubilize in water only. So in that case, how you handle like?
In that case, it's very difficult. You have to choose same environment, same solvent. Suppose you have chosen some percentage of DMSO or something to solubilize your drug. Then that same percentage you have to add in your sample cell also. In protein also.
Because in ITC we are adding slowly. So I can't like at the initial time point the percent DMSO like what I am using as an element, it will be very less. But when we add more volume, it will be increased.
Correct. So
in
final thing should be equal. So you calculate according to the final, whatever final concentration is there, you calculate according to that. Okay. So initially it will be less. So that is fine, no problem.
But
But the
micro
final
will change, because we have to manage the.
that will not affect much.
So it's working at a very microjoule level.
That's true. That's true. Correct. So if you are taking this final thing same, so initially less dilution will not affect much, but final thing should be same. Okay, so these are the means in terms of delta G, delta X, minus T, delta X, this kind of signatures we got. On the basis of all those parameters, we propose this model. This is your micelle, naproxen, diclofenac, sodium, neomycin, and lincomycin. So based on enthalpic value, we propose that this means this naproxen, they are interacting with polar head groups. This is polar and as well as some amount of non-polar. This hydrophobic tail, they are interacting based only on these enthalpic values. Neomycin, less interaction mostly by this head groups, and lincomycin, they are not interactive. So mechanism of partitioning also you can know by using RTC. Now how the drugs are getting delivered through micelles, how it affects the binding affinity, that all things you can study. Like here, when the drug is getting delivered through micelles, in this case what happened, the binding is decreased. As you increase the concentration of H square, that means micellar involvement, the binding affinity for naproxen is getting decreased. And in case of diclofenac, it is increasing. So from 10 to the power 4, it has become 10 to the power 5. In the previous case, from 10 to the power 7, it has become 10 to the power 6. That means drug delivery through micelle, it means it modulates the binding affinity also. And this, all this you can study by RTC, by calorimetry. So these are some examples. So now I want to summarize. So if you want to study biologically important processes, okay, interaction as well as study this stability, then you will have to use ultra-sensitive microcalorimetry technique, mostly of two types, TAC and ITC. By using TAC, you can study protein folding, unfolding, nucleic acid melting, stability, intermediate state characterization, which we have discussed today. Drug formulation, I have not discussed, that will be discussed by Dr. Pramod. Drug delivery you can study. Then by using ITC, you can study ligand protein interaction, macromolecule interaction, then carrier mediated drug delivery. So all these things you can study. Now at last I would like to acknowledge my students whose work I presented today. Then DHT for funding. UMBA Center for Excellence in Basic Sciences for providing all this infrastructure, and organizers biosimilar workshop, especially Dr. Ratnesh for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
You told that the phenolic compounds you have checked with the protein, and it will stabilize the protein structure and increases its melting time. So I will check either the stabilization in terms of there is a conformational changes of the alpha helix to beta sheets, conversion of alpha helix when bind your compounds.
Correct. So that we have checked, but here I didn't present that data. So what we did, we performed CD experiments. We found that these polyphenols, they bind this protein, and there is and tertiary structure is getting stabilized more in case of EGCG. Because in case of EGCG, if you remember that data, there was more shift in TM. So in case of EGCG, that alteration in secondary structure and tertiary structure was more. That we found.
And if you, if I want to take the two ligands with the one protein and the affinity of simultaneously affinity of these two ligands, can you check this method?
That means you want to check affinity of one ligand in presence of other
Yeah.
compound. You
When
can
one compound is binded and the
correct. You can do. You make complex of one. Suppose you have compound A and B, two compounds. You want to check its affinity. Make complex of your protein with compound A, then titrate compound B. If it is binding, then binding constant you will get. Compare that binding constant without this A. So compare both these two, whether this is binding with same affinity or reduced affinity. So you can do that.
it's the affinity in terms of dissociation value.
Dissociation also important. Now there are softwares, maybe after this talk we will discuss that. So this dissociation process also you can study. There are different models. When you perform ITC, it has different models for fitting your data. Like this one-side model, two-sides model, sequential model, competitive binding, then dissociation also. So everything you can study.
Ma'am, what is the robustness of this method?
What?
What is the robustness of this method?
Robustness in what sense you want to?
When we talk about biosimilars, like in the pharma industry, we generally use various analytical methods for biosimilar development. We are mostly talking about the ligand binding assays. Like the major function of the ITC would be the ligand binding assays. So how feasible is this methodology when we need to adapt it into a biosimilar development?
Yeah, this method you can use with any kind of binding.
Talking
event.
about the costing and the per assay costing, what do you?
Costing. See, you will have to invest one time for buying that instrument. After that, there won't be any expenditure for raw material. You take your protein, you take your ligand, it will give you that result. No extra expenditure.
Okay, and do you know any of the biopharmaceutical industry which is currently using this methodology for
Most of
binding?
they are having, see, all these biopharmaceutical industry, they will have their own ITC, they will have their own DAC. Because they are synthesizing new molecules. And after synthesis, first they want to know whether these are interacting with the target protein or not, and what is the effect of binding after binding. So for all those things, they will need these instruments. If they don't have, they collaborate.
No.
Yeah.
There is another option.
There are other alternatives to it.
That is also, yeah. That is, so there are different methods. Yeah. There are different methods. So one thing you can study by different methods. You can do by this spectroscopy also.
Fluorescence spectroscopy.
So that's why I told you the process quantitative and qualitative. Your fluorescence will give you qualitative information. Whether the process happening binding or not through punching you can get. Binding constant also you can calculate and this thermodynamic parameters also you can calculate. But those will not be very accurate. This thing I can tell you because you are only observing local environment. Okay? You are not observing whole thing. Okay? So and you are calculating all these parameters indirectly through some expressions, through some equations. Okay? That is not direct. Here, in case of calorimetry, whatever you are getting, that is direct measurement. So that is more reliable.
I have a question. So you have mentioned that stability you can do the folding and unfolding studies
Correct.
in the protein stability. But in biosimilars, our major concern is about the aggregation. So is there any literature to study the aggregation behavior of proteins using these techniques?
Aggregation behavior.
Because in biosimilars, our major concern is all about the aggregation.
Correct.
We generally don't bother about the folding and refolding. Because throughout the shelf life, we don't change the temperature condition. So is there
Correct.
any
So in
literature?
case of in case of aggregated protein, it depends on the study. What do you want to study? In case of aggregated protein, definitely DSC will not be very effective.
Let's say if I want to change the concentration of any molecule, like I have a molecule, protein molecule, I want to study the, like it's a buffer concentration, and I want to see how it segregates at different
That you
concentration.
can do. That study you can do.
That's the
You change your concentration of buffer, change melting temperature.
But it's not going to unfold. That's not. But it will aggregate.
It will unfold now. When you heat it, it will unfold. So you can simply check in which buffer concentration your protein is most stable. That you can check.
The propellers of reallocate more.
It's like
So in the interest of time, we will keep the questions during the tea break for interaction with the speaker. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the talk. I request Nanda to present. I request sir to present a token of appreciation.
No problem.
Our next speaker